Call me crazy, but I don't think what we're seeing right now is the true altcoin season. And in today's video, I'll be talking about why you would probably hope that this isn't the altcoin season, because it could be signaling the end of the cycle. If you enjoy the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Let's jump right into the video. So what we have right here is Bitcoin dominance. Let's kick us off with this. You can see that on the daily time frame, we are holding this level as support, which is right around 60%. Now, I'm not calling for an immediate explosion to the upside here, but it's very clear that on the weekly time frame, we got a massive drop last week. The question is, are we going to just completely capitulate here? Because we saw last cycle that when Bitcoin dominance started dropping aggressively like this, it did lead to a proper altcoin season, which is what everyone is currently hoping for. However, this also means the end of the cycle. So I want to talk about a little bit what I'm hoping for in this cycle, and that is actually a Bitcoin dominance reversal here before we actually get the true altcoin season. Now, if we were to get some kind of reversal here, which is currently my base case, I think that Bitcoin dominance could find its way back up towards this range. Now, would it print a higher high around 66%? Obviously, no one really knows. However, if we do start to creep up here, then we know that altcoins would be struggling against Bitcoin. Now, I want to make something extremely clear. Altcoins struggling against Bitcoin does not mean that altcoins have to go down. I've been getting a lot of questions in my previous videos asking about altcoins, and if I think that Bitcoin dominance will go up, does this mean that altcoins will just drop? No, Bitcoin dominance can go up if Bitcoin goes up or if Bitcoin breaks downwards from this range. So you need to consider both cases. If Bitcoin moves up here, which is currently my base case, then altcoins would of course follow on their dollar valuations. However, they would likely be underperforming Bitcoin. It's only really when Bitcoin starts ranging around that altcoins get the kind of relief that we hope for. Now, right here, if Bitcoin is to have a massive breakout, and then we go ahead and consolidate, say somewhere around $130,000, that would lead to an even better altcoin season. So you don't want altcoin season to start now if you're a true altcoin bull. I want to make it very clear, because if, for example, what we're seeing right now is just a distribution phase for Bitcoin, and we end up breaking lower, and this is the end of the cycle, then sure, the altcoin season would be starting now. But for us to have the aggressive altcoin season and an even better one, you want Bitcoin to break up here, take control of the market, have Bitcoin dominance go up, and then as we consolidate at hopefully higher levels, above hopefully $130,000, then at that point, this consolidation, before we potentially move lower into a bear market near the end of the year, would be best for altcoins, and altcoins can run to much higher heights if Bitcoin consolidates higher. Right now, Bitcoin broke above its 112,000 all-time high, and you can see that after hitting 123K, we've just been chopping around. Perfectly fine, great environment for altcoins. But as per my last video, the longer that Bitcoin ranges in here, the better it is for altcoins. And I don't mind. However, I do want to see Bitcoin break up. And as I said, I think that Bitcoin's next big move, whether that's to the upside or the downside, we'll see Bitcoin dominance get a pretty significant bounce here. I said it once and I'll say it again. You do not want Bitcoin dominance to absolutely capitulate here, because this could mark the end of the cycle. Best case scenario, in my opinion, is that Bitcoin breaks up here, takes charge of the market. Altcoins, of course, follow on their USD valuation, which means basically that if Bitcoin goes up, altcoins will be going up, but at a slower rate than Bitcoin. Then, and only then, when we have this consolidation period, excuse the drawings, that is when you hope for a really strong altcoin season and when the end of the cycle is near. I hope I made myself clear. So as we're talking about altcoins and Bitcoin dominance, let's take a look at ETH Bitcoin and see how it's doing. You can see that on the daily time frame, we are now getting a little bit of a pullback. And honestly, if we were to come back lower, I do think that this double bottom would probably be a much higher low. Let's say we come back and revisit the bull market support band, I would only see this as a major opportunity to scale even more into Ethereum. However, right now, you cannot argue that the trend is still very strong. So if you're worried that you missed the ETH Bitcoin bottom, I wouldn't be worried, because there is a lot more room to run up here. And so if you want to dollar cost average into this, it is perfectly healthy to do so in my opinion, although I do think that we can have a little bit of a pullback here as Bitcoin dominance could potentially take charge here. So let's see what happens. As I said, you definitely don't want Bitcoin dominance to absolutely plummet because it could actually be marking the end of the cycle sooner than many want to admit. Now, taking a look at Bitcoin, let me erase all of these ugly drawings. Let's see here. We are now breaking out of this range as I'm recording this video. Now, will it be another wick to the downside, or are we finally getting the confirmed breakout here and Bitcoin is ready for its next leg higher? I will, of course, make sure to keep you updated as it develops. And actually, I am currently trading Bitcoin and a specific altcoin in my VIP trading community. If you want to join that, that is the first link in my description down below. You click here, it is completely free. And if you want to trade on the exchanges that I have been using, I have Blofin and I also have Weeks. Blofin gives you a $300 futures bonus if you deposit just $2,000 to your account after signing up with the second link in my description down below. And Weeks does the same. Third link in my description down below, you get a $400 bonus for signing up with me and depositing $2,000 to trade as you normally would. Now, what else did I want to cover? Because there's a couple pieces of news here. President Trump announced a trade deal with the Philippines. The US will pay 0 tariffs and the Philippines will pay 19% tariff. This just came out as I was recording my video. President Trump says Fed Chair Jerome Powell is keeping interest rates high for political reasons. Every single day he has something to say about Jerome Powell. So honestly, I wouldn't pay too much attention to this. If there's any real developments on this, I will of course make sure to keep you updated. For example, if Jerome Powell actually decides to resign, but I don't think that this will be the case. And until then, every single day, Trump will likely say something about Powell. Also, Polymarket officially to return to the US market after acquiring crypto derivative exchange QCX for $112 million. Ultimately very, very bullish. And if we take a look at the Bitcoin exchange liquidation map, which you know is one of my favorite metrics to cover on the channel, you can see that over the past 7 days, shorts have really started to pile into the market. Now, of course, over the past 30 days, there are still a lot more longs in the market, but as I said, this can stay overheated for longer than most people are expecting. However, I want to see more shorts enter the market, and hopefully we can have an explosive move here and grab that liquidity to the upside. But I will be tracking this range as we have been, because right now we are at the value area high and we are also slightly above the current range. So let's see if we get that confirmed breakout, retest, and then explosion to the upside. This, in my opinion, is where Bitcoin dominance would likely soar. Same case if we come back lower and we fall back below this range. And before I wrap up this video, I do have a little bit of a downside target to be adding to longs if Bitcoin were to give us that opportunity, and that would be all the way down to the CME gap, as you can see, between 114.5 to around 115.5K. This would ultimately be a very strong opportunity to add to my positions if we were to come back down here. So let's see what happens. Are we going to get the chance to add back down here? I am not quite sure right now, because we can see that we are trying to break out of this range. But another fail here, and ultimately we can go lower, and we have been retesting the 116K level for quite some time now, so it wouldn't surprise me that if we were to come back to this level, we would likely find our way below it because of all of the tests that have been occurring. And finally, to wrap up this quick video, I want to show you that all is truly well with Bitcoin, because we are indeed above this trend line, which connects all of these cycle tops. So is it going to happen? Are we going to keep on holding this level as support and finally break up and move much, much higher above $125,000, $130,000? At that point, that is the period in time where you want to see Bitcoin consolidate. Not right now. I think it's a little bit too premature. Now, we have seen these drops in Bitcoin dominance before, but right now you can see that at the 60% level, 60.5, we are currently getting support on the weekly time frame and on the daily time frame. Now, a lot can change in a couple more days to see what the weekly chart looks like, but for now, we are getting a little bit of a bounce here. My base case is that as Bitcoin prepares for the breakout and the breakout occurs, Bitcoin dominance will likely continue to increase. And that is perfectly fine. If we go to the upside here for Bitcoin, altcoins will not be going down. They will just be going up slightly less than Bitcoin. That is, of course, on average. There will be some outperformers in the market, as I always have to leave as a disclaimer. And that sums up today's quick video. Today we talked about why you don't want altcoin season to start now, because it could likely mean that the end of the cycle is closer than many may think. I am personally hoping for Bitcoin to go ahead and break out of this range, consolidate at higher valuations, and then we finally have the true Bitcoin dominance drop where we get a solid altcoin season as seen in the previous cycles. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video.